Four, three, two, one. We are live. Hello and welcome to PropTechBuzz, a business podcast on global PropTech, where we talk to PropTech founders and CEOs from all over the globe and learn from them how to build and manage successful PropTech companies. Today, we have with us a very exciting guest, David Graydon. He's the founder of Spaciable. Spaciable specializes in helping property developers embrace the digital transition, making processes more efficient and ESG friendly while enhancing the home user experience. Now, as you can see, I read out a template description from their website. I do not know how much we could make out, but we have the founder himself, David, here, who will do the explanation for us on what Spaciable is. But before we welcome him, I would like all our audience out here, lovely audience who keep coming back to listen to these episodes, that if you have not yet hit that like and subscribe button, please do that, because the more people hit like and subscribe, the wider is the reach. PropTech is anyways a niche topic segment, and when you help us with that like and subscribe, it just reaches a wider audience. Also, if you are consuming audio only content, not YouTube, and most people preferably listen to the audio content, you can find our content on Spotify. Go to Spotify and search for PropTechBuzz. You will find us there. Just hit a follow and give us some good ratings. With that, let's welcome David again. David, welcome to PropTechBuzz. How are you doing today?
Good, Ravi. Thanks very much for having me on PropTechBizz. Really nice to get on the show and speak to the audience. Look forward to going through and having a bit of a conversation about all things PropTech. Sounds good.
Thank you, David, for actively responding to my request. I have been following a Spaciable journey for a while, and always wanted to have you on this show. You are a veteran. You have done a lot of stuff in the past before Spaciable. So before we get into Spaciable, do you want to give us a brief story about your career trajectory and then your transition story of building Spaciable?
Yeah, look, I won't try to bore the audience too much, but it's a little bit of a different career to perhaps a lot of people in the PropTech space. I sort of I've always been this sort of entrepreneur that's always been, sitting in me. And I managed to pay through my way through university back in Australia, originally Australian, but sitting in sunny London, or it was until yesterday anyway, at the moment. But yeah, entrepreneur first. So paid my way through university being an entrepreneur, but then got sucked into doing the blue ribbon stuff. So went into management consultancy, banking, high-level government advisory, managed to actually get into number 10 Dowling Street, which is the Prime Minister's residence over here, and then went into startups. Realized that actually I was better. Sorry. Yep.
Sorry, what was the reference to 10 Downing Street? I could not get that.
I did government advisory at one stage, so I worked through government departments.
Of what departments are we talking about?
There was a number of different departments, so Ministry of Justice, the pensions and social housing, social department, the cabinet office.
Wow.
So lots of different stuff. When
was that? Which year are we talking about?
Oh, we're going back to the Brown government, if you can remember that far. I'm stroking my long beard here, going back in the dim, dark and past. But yeah, the Brown years, which were perhaps not exactly noticeable, but yeah, there was quite a bit that was done.
Got it.
Yeah, so then I went I thought, oh yeah, I'll go and do some startup. That failed. We were just too quick to the market. The business does exist today. It was just too early, and it was a B2C play, which is always very difficult. I'm sure that there are a few listeners out there that are going through that at the moment. And realized it was better to move into a higher level. So I did some private equity, managed to understand how to put a transaction together, and I actually bought a company called Classic Folios, And that led into my journey into Spaceable. So Classic Folios was doing what we basically do today, but in a very paper-based form. So I managed to sort of turn that into a tech business, but we can and found Spaceable from it. But we can talk about that a little bit more. Other things that I do is I seed invest into other startups. So I've got about 16 other investments, and I'm helping other entrepreneurs out and do odd things that sort of distract me in a bad way. So I've got a restaurant and a couple of other things. So that's my sort of quick background. But effectively, an old dog of prop tech in a way. I've been in the industry for about 13 years. And the company, the Classic Folios, started 26 years ago. So it's been a long journey in prop tech.
Hi, David. Do you hear me?
Yes. Did you miss
Uh,
out on
no,
that?
no, no. I was all through. I just wondering if you heard me right. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm my most fascinating piece of the conversation segment of the conversation is the founding story of any business, right? At any given point of time, especially an entrepreneur, a veteran entrepreneur like you, how do you decide on an idea of the multiple ideas that you have in mind? How do you decide upon investing a good part of your life into that one idea, and how did Spaciable become that one idea for you?
Yeah, it's a great question, and something that I actually deal on a almost daily basis, because I'm always looking at ideas and having a look at what what might actually go well. Um, how do you decide if an idea is the right one, or something that, as you say, that you want to put a lot of your life into? There is a number of different things. I think the key thing is passion. And as an entrepreneur, you've got to stick with something. You've got to really go for it. If you're going to make it work, that's probably the biggest quality of being an entrepreneur. That being tenacious in what you want to deliver. So passion really starts that. I think a lot of entrepreneurs get that wrong in a way, being too passionate about ideas. So you've got to come back and you've got to have a look and see, you know, is there a market segment? Is there a product market fit for what you want to do? Is there a problem and solution? Um, and then to go from there, you start to have a look at, do I have the skill set to deliver? Do I have the team around me that can help me deliver that? Do I have the connection? So that I guess a lot of what I learnt in my consulting career helped me sort of determine what I go after and where I go. Coming back to Spaceable, it was a little easier and a little harder in a way, because it was easier because I bought a business that already had product market fit. But what
I
I
see.
had to do was turn that business into a digital business, to move with the times, and that requires a hell of a lot of change, because you're turning people, processes, systems, and potentially how you relate to the customer at the end of the day. And we're a B2B to C sort of business. How do your current customers feel about that digital journey, and where do they go from there? So um, so yep, easier but harder. But I've in founding Spaceable, off the current business, is having a look at how do we move the current product market fit into a more technology age.
Yeah, but what was Spaciable already into? If it was not a digital business, what was the problem that you could relate so much that you invested and you bought and it transformed into a tech business?
Yeah. Okay. So for us, and I guess what we're starting to move into is, what is Spaceable and what do we actually do? So dropping into that, we work for new build developers, housing associations, build to rent customers, people. And I think they say it's the third most stressful thing in your life is to buy or move into a home after a death of a close relative and divorce. So we're actually making that customer journey a lot easier for that person. So we're digitizing that difficult journey, and making the customer service aspects really easy, really simple, really guided, ready, to get help or information as they move through that process, from putting a deposit on a home and moving into that home and living in that home. So there are lots of different aspects to what we do, which I can go into a little bit more. But it is basically around that journey. And the great thing is, hopefully, particularly in the PropTech space, hopefully most of your listeners have been through that journey, and can understand and relate to that. But it's a bit crazy because we're buying the most expensive thing that we've ever bought, or moving into a rental home, and we get no help with that. And an example would be, if you buy a car, you get a manual, and you collect the information around that car, and you learn about that car, whereas a home, you don't do that. And Spaciable solves that problem. So there are lots of different problems in that space, that I can go into a little bit more detail. But
Yeah,
if you have a think about it and you step back to it, take yourself through that journey and remember how stressful that is, and what needs to be done. And that's basically where we sit.
got it. So, yeah, why don't we jump into the pain points there, and then we draw a parallel to the solution that is solving for the pain point. All right.
Yep. Okay, cool. First pain point is, what does the customer understand what they have to do? We provide, what are the responsibilities of the developer? What are the responsibilities of the customer? What the customer has to do to go through each of those steps. So
Mm,
for a customer, it solves, what am I having to do? What are my responsibilities? Where do I have to get to? And it keeps them organized. So we provide a really good workflow on what do you do and where you go. Second sort of pain point, for the end customer. And look, I'm going to talk about the developer and the customer together, because they sort of sit opposite each other. The developer needs to tell the customer, what they have to do. The customer wants to know what they need to do. We provide that app and that solution that takes them through. The customer needs to know, what are they actually getting in their home. The developer needs to tell them what they're getting in their home. Sometimes we've got functionality that allows the customer to actually choose what they get in their home. So we're giving a record of what's in that home and how to use it, and how to get around that home. For instance, one of our bits of functionality is a 3D walkthrough. You can actually go on the app, you can walk through your home, you can, in a sort of 3D way, you can go to an appliance, you can click on that appliance, with a meta tag, and up will come how to use that appliance. So how do you use the oven? How do you use the heating system? And give you a guided tour. It'll give you an appliance manual. It'll give you, how to actually make sure you've got a guarantee on that appliance. So there's lots of different solutions, problems and solutions, as the customer moves through that customer journey that we do. I mean, I can go into a lot more. The thing is that we've been in sort of the tech game in prop tech for a good 10 years. And we've built a lot of functionality that sort of sits around that sort of customer journey and helping somebody in the home. I think one other thing worth mentioning as well, a problem just sitting at the end of this, and making sure that we've got a cycle of people going out and having a look for their home, buying or renting their home, is at the end of that cycle, they want to sell that home. So the app and Spaciable provides a great sort of asset protection layer, that all the information around that home is built into one area into one area, so you can sort of hand it over across to the new buyer. And just like a car, if you show that you've maintained it, what you've done to it, all the information, hopefully you get a better price. You get through what we call conveyancing in the UK, i.e. the legal process, a lot quicker. So there's a lot of sort of problems and solutions that we're solving in that journey. But it's not just one particular problem with one particular solution. It's actually a big circular journey that you have to get through.
Very, very interesting. You're talking about the entire life cycle from buying, staying, and then selling, or are they disjointed? Do your users use the app or your solution to buy, and then they forget about it, and then they use it to sell, or is it also throughout their staying journey as well?
It's mostly through. So we at the moment very much concentrate on from reservation, deposit, or putting, and that whole customer journey all the way through to what we call completion.
Mm.
So that's getting somebody through the transaction, getting them settled, handing over their new home, or handing over their rental home, getting
Mm.
them to understand that home. But we also move into the living inside. So we've got the ability to have a very curated experience and build communities around when people are living in developments or housing and creating communities. And we've got also aspects around some of that key functionality in living in a home. So parcel management, getting parcels to your homes,
Wow.
getting key management, shared spaces bookings, internal chat between the developer or the managing agent and the end customer. So making sure that communication is very strong. Communications between residents. So, building community groups. The dog walking club or the
Wow.
environmental club or whatever else it might be. We've got a very big range of functionality, and what we're sitting and trying to do is become a little bit of that one-stop shop that somebody has around their home that really tells you about their home, allows the best use out of that home, but also not only that home. It's about creating a digital experience that people are comfortable with, and we've been through COVID, that people are comfortable with, that they can have a digital experience, but then reach out physically once they have that digital experience and they feel a little bit more confident in talking to the people around them and creating a community. I grew up in Australia. We talk to each other. We help each other out. It's a bit of a strange thing. I've been living in London for a good 20 years. People don't know their neighbours. They don't help each other out. I'm actually now. You're coming live from a boat. I'm actually living on a boat in a really great community. It's a big houseboat, but living in a great community where people help each other out and people talk to each other. And part of my journey is to create those communities and allow people to get a very happy sort of digital community building that leads into a physical community building, if that helps. Sorry, I went on a little bit of a
No,
tangent
no,
there.
no. It was very, very fascinating. First of all, let me clarify. Did you say you are in a boat now?
I am in a boat now.
Wow. Where exactly are you?
Across from Canary Wharf, there's a couple of docks there actually that are sort of in the Rotherhithe area. So
Oh,
it's more like a house rather than a boat. But
nice. And
but
you
it's a
have
great location.
great internet, is it? You have good
Yep,
internet there.
yep. Hopefully so. Hopefully I'm coming across okay.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. What is also fascinating about the entire use cases that you said, it's quite broad, quite extensive. It seems like it is a super app by itself. How many years in business? I'm just curious about how long has Spaciable been in the business?
Yeah, we started or the company started developing very embryonic. I mean, we've been in the business 26 years. I don't think there's too many effectively prop tech businesses that have been in that business. I bought it 11 years ago,
Wow.
but and that's the previous the founder of Classic Folios, which was the previous business, had started that digital journey on, but it was really just files on the web. We've completely transformed that into a very much digital first solution. So this hasn't been an overnight thing that we've sort of been building out this functionality. This has been a long-term play into creating and something that spans across a lot of areas. And my background, consulting wise, is more of a tech background rather than a sales and marketing and more strategic background. So we're not out there shouting from the top of the hill about what we do. What we do is we consistently deliver to customers. We have a very low level of customers that leave us, and I haven't had to get any funding, and we've
Nice.
just grown organically, and without VCs. And in these trying times, you see a lot of startups going to the wall because they spend huge marketing, launch parties, etc. If there is one message out there to prop tech startups is just be careful. That we've been through lots of hard times and good times. They come around. The circle is, again, as I stroke my long grey beard, that circle goes around, and you should be careful with your money. And really, it's about having a look at those fundamentals and making sure that your cost of acquisition of customer, your customer loss, your customer retention, how making sure that customers are liking what you're doing, and you've got a good product market fit. Keep to those fundamentals, and everything else will fall into place.
Excellent. Now we'll come to the business lessons from you, because I would not let you go without learning from your long beard, as you said. Uh, let's talk about the user behavior, customer behavior. Okay, what are they used to? What is the status quo today in terms of experience of buying with the developers? And how are you changing that or transforming that or making it better? So could you let us know how do buyers traditionally buy software, even buy their houses, and how do they maintain their relationships and entire life cycle of their house buying experience today without Spaciable, and how Spaciable has changed that buying behavior?
Yeah, sure. I guess we talk about two things in what we do. We talk about my direct customers, which developers, housing associations, managing agents, and
Hmm.
then we talk about the end customer who is
Got it.
living in the four walls.
Right.
I'm going to switch back and forth between them, but you can certainly do some follow-up questions
Sure.
on specifically getting that out. I'll start with the end customer. The end customer, and I think we see it a lot in the rest of the world. I think the UK is really good on customer service as a general point of view. But we see it a lot in the rest of the world. Somebody builds an apartment or somebody rents an apartment out. They give you the key and tell you, off you go. And you walk in, you go, oh shit, I've got to like, where do I go? What do I do? How do I get the most out of it? With Spaciable, you get an app. You download the app. In that app, it'll tell you what to do when. So, I have to put the deposit in. I have to do the legals. I have to, provide KYC information, know your customer information, etc. And here's some frequently asked questions to help me out. Okay, I'm having trouble with this. okay, there's a contact here I can or a chatbot that I can talk to and understand what I need to do or ask questions to. And that sort of help and that level of help is all the way through that journey. And the journey is, going initially doing the transaction, walking into that home, understanding how to use that home, understanding what, how am I going to get the best life out of that home, and how am I going to get the best life out of that surrounding area. And I guess, if we move back into from a developer side, I came from a consumer products background when I was consulting, and it was all about the brand image. And I think developers now and others in the industry realize how, and particularly sort of build to rent and housing associations, where the customer is a customer multiple times, or they have to provide a great customer experience. So it becomes a really big branding experience. And that's really important, because that customer, will rent maybe in one development and then we'll go to another development, or they will buy a 2-bedroom home, and then when they have a family they might upgrade to a 4-bedroom home or something else like that. So that branding experience, if you can build a great branding experience, and a lot of that is about customer satisfaction in how they've bought or rented their home or moved into their home. If they can provide a really great customer satisfaction in that journey, then it ticks all the boxes, both from a customer and a developer's point of view. I don't know whether you wanted to drop into any part of that question a little bit more,
Yeah,
Ravi.
no, yeah, I definitely have. So it was not very clear to me. So thank you for breaking that up. You have an end customer app, and you also have a developer housing society app. So when an end customer gets that app, is it an app provided by the developer, or the end customer is buying that app?
Okay, yes, I probably haven't explained that very well. So the app is an end customer app. It's all about the end customer. But what happens is that there's a very strong admin section behind the app that allows the developer to communicate and provide help and curate a customer journey for the end customer within that app. Does that explain that at all?
No. So who?
So
So
it is
let's
an ex-
understand the experience. I am the user, and I go to a developer, and I'm transacting with the developer, right?
yeah.
So who gives me the app? Is the developer giving me the app? Hey customer, thank you for purchasing my
Yeah.
apartment. Here's the app that will help you ease your experience, right? Is that how it is?
Yeah, absolutely. Apologies for not making that clearer earlier. The app is done by us. So we sell a SaaS type app. It's done by us, but we brand it for the developer. So we
Got it.
always sort of say we're the biggest name in, and we're doing, a lot of houses in the UK. We're the biggest name that nobody's really heard of, because we actually brand the app for the housing developer or managing agent or social housing. So for instance, the let's just drop into a specific example of the functionality in the app. Let's just say that somebody's constructed a high rise of a high rise building with multi-family residential apartments in it, and there is a problem in the apartment, in all of the apartments, that the lift goes down, or there's a problem with the water or something else like that. In the admin section, the developer can go into the FAQs. They can type out, we're having an issue, there's an issue around the lift. Please use lift L2 for the next 10 days. We'll update you with updates and communicate out to you what those issues are. And that can all be done in that app. So up pops a notification, up pops a FAQ. Here are the key people to talk to. We'll be updating you around what's happening around that lift too, etc., etc. So there is a very strong admin that they can indicate key information. They can change the app. They can put advice and other information out. So it's a very flexible app as well. Lots of functionality, but the key bit that we sort of concentrate on as well, and something that we haven't talked about yet, is we curate very specific content down to a plot level for that particular development. So we're giving the customer information about the developer, development, and down to a plot level on specific content as well.
Got
I
it.
don't know whether that explains it a little bit better, but
Yes, it,
I would certainly, if anybody's interested, certainly jump on to our
sure.
website and spaciable.io, and you'll be able to see a whole sort of range of different things that we do.
Excellent. Thank you. Um, Very curious to know the role of a property manager, because property managers also do similar stuff. Once a customer is living in an apartment, I do not know how it is in. First of all, your product is available in which markets? Is it primarily UK market, or which market is it?
Yeah, we're market leaders in the UK
Mhm.
for what we do by some way.
Great.
We are now expanding more globally. So we're
Okay.
starting to have a look at other markets, and we're starting to pick up customers in other areas.
Got it.
We're tending to do that by having a look at where the interest is
Mhm.
and following the prestigious developments. For instance, we've done Battersea over here,
Mhm.
and some really prestigious developments. So we're using that as a conduit to other prestigious developments in the world. So that's where we're aiming. We're looking for partners in other areas, other geographics. So if there
Mhm.
are people out there, please reach out. But we're mainly honed our craft in the UK, but now it's time to move out further.
Excellent. Great. My question was, so now I understand your geographical focus. My question was, the property managers also have their apps, right? So I'm trying to understand, because I've had guests on my podcast wherein there are developers who tie up or partner with property managers as a value added service, just as you do. All right. Here, what you are providing is you are giving them a white label solution as part of developer experience, which extends beyond sale. uh, and I've seen in scenarios where developers partner with property managers who take over that responsibility, and help them have a seamless living experience. So my question to you is: are you completely eliminating the role of property managers as part of this solution, wherein developers are also becoming part of daily property management?
Um, you can tell that you've spoken to quite a few people in your podcast, Ravi. I'm going to have to go back and have a look at a few of them. So nice one. It's a really interesting area. I think we see, we've got, I think, about 200 customers in the UK, developer customers, and we see a lot of different business models. Um, so those models could range from I build and then I sell, and I don't have anything else to do. But let's move on to where you're talking about, which is I build, then I either rent the apartments out or I sell them, and then I manage them going forward.
Right.
And we've got a good sweet spot there, because we've actually got an app that curates that whole experience. So
Mm.
and you don't have to change apps, and you don't have to do anything else around that, because we can onboard customers, i.e. going from the reservation through to the completion side, and then we can provide a really curated experience from the information we've learned on that side into the living in aspect. So, what's in that apartment? Who is that customer? How do they want to be managed and curated
Mm.
at the end of the day in their living experience? So, we've got the ability to go end to end, and I don't know of anybody else in the world that actually can do that.
Mm.
So 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 there is a real sweet spot for us, I think, where there is, that end-to-end type where somebody builds or somebody takes over and then manages it through the whole life cycle.
How deep is the use case post buying experience? Because I can understand before buying, you have this 3D virtual walkthroughs, which is a very good and common use cases for buying experience. Post buying experiences, are the developers willing to get into that, or because I would imagine they would rather focus on selling, and post selling there would be other players who take over, isn't it?
Yeah, it differs. I think from what we see, it differs throughout the world. Um, I think in the UK we've got this thing called the developer's liability period, which is a
Got it.
10-year period where the developer is very much responsible for the customer experience. So so that's an easy one for UK developers, but excuse me. But I think more and more over the world, depending on um, what they're doing, people are starting to realize that there's a lot more to a customer experience than just building a home and handing over the keys and going on to the next sale.
Right.
Um, because the thing is that if somebody has a really bad experience, the
Mm.
old adage that they tell 10 people or something else like that,
Mm.
a good
Right.
experience is two or something. So you can really shoot yourself in the foot from a branding experience. And one of the things that we sort of concentrate on as well is you found as a developer, you found your target market. You found, let's just say that Ravi, I'm a developer and you've bought into me.
Right.
Automatically, I know that you're my target market. You've already bought off me.
Right.
I know that actually you probably know a lot of other people who are professionals and creatives or whatever the case is, i.e., my exact target market. If I give you a really good experience, you're going to say, well, I bought off David developers.
Right.
Um, I had a really good experience, and they're really good. And your friends are going to go, "Oh, really? Okay. Um, Let me. Do you have their website? What sort of developments are they doing?" So I think we've got to move from that experience of build, sell, not really look after the customer, to
Right.
what we've seen in consumer brands, and coming back to my experience in consumer brands, to making sure that you've got a great product that people want to talk about, people want to say that they've had a great experience around, and Spaceable as an app, helps build that experience and curates that experience. And I think the other thing that you mentioned as well, um, in some of your wording, was seamless. Gives a
Mm.
great seamless experience. It allows the developer to concentrate on those contact points where they're talking to the customer, and let all the admin and all the other stuff be handled by tech and chatbots
Mm.
and workflows and things like that. Um, so yeah, I think we've seen that change in the UK. Um,
Mm.
I think other places around the world will start to see that change if they haven't already. I think it's a little bit more advanced in the US, um, but other places, and perhaps the Middle East a bit, but other places we haven't seen that sort of level of people really understanding that their brand experience can have a very big knock-on impact.
So you mentioned Middle East. You think Middle East is a notch ahead of what UK is today?
I think I think there are some developers in the Middle East that have got a really good experience
Mm.
from a customer service perspective. Um, from a build perspective, there might be some questions around that, but from a customer service experience, I that some of them have you know very similar functionality or capabilities that we have.
Mm.
But they tend to, because these are the bigger ones, they tend to do things in-house. so they don't share that.
Mm,
What we do is we take all our knowledge, we take the best of the best, and we build that into what we do and provide a solution that, even if you're behind the times, you can get up to the top of the world, as far as that customer service and that capability
got it.
in a turnkey solution.
Got it. You mentioned you are a SaaS player here. What's your business model like? Is it subscription play with the varied tiers into it? There is a developer focus, and you said there is also user focus. Could you help us understand how you are priced and how do you offer your solutions?
Yeah, sure. I think you've sort of guessed what our business model is. It is a SaaS play. It is levels of functionality, different levels of functionality. You can have a very cheap solution that is sort of out of the box, which provides a lot of functionality at a very cheap price. And we can do that because we don't have we haven't had to go to market to raise. We keep things lean. We're a smart company as far as not overspending. So we've got a great price point at the start. And I would encourage anybody out there that hasn't got a solution from a developer's point of view, come and have a look at us, because that there is a very simple price point that you can make sure that that you can get a great solution, and get yourself up and running in a turnkey way, in that customer service area. But then we add layers of technology, but more importantly as well, layers of written specific content about the developer, the development, and even down to a plot level, that sort of increases the price. So it gives a more personal, curated experience, through language, through personalization. And look, let's face it, in the UK, maybe a developer spending 200,000, or I don't know what it is. Huge differences, 200,000 to a couple of million to build a home. If you think about the customer experience aspects, besides building the home, i.e., the fixtures and fittings, they have nearly as big an impact on, how somebody uses and has their home and gets benefit out of it than the fixtures and fittings. So, it's a very small drop in the ocean as far as a price point that you can actually improve that customer experience greatly.
Got it. So it's an easy sell for you to the developers for the value proposition and the ROI that you promise, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is, we once we can show the solution to somebody, people get on board very quickly.
Mm,
We tend to have, we again, look, we're not out there doing ridiculous amounts of marketing and everything else. We've got good technical selling people that will technically sell a really good product, and then work with the customers on their pain and gain points, on what are they specifically having issues with. And because we've got that range of functionality, it gives a very wide breadth of pain and gain points that we can sell for that individual customer. So, it is a cost play. So reducing costs in as far as being able to communicate to multiple customers, to be able to provide chatbots that will answer questions, to be able to provide information to multiple people rather than having those 300 phone calls. You get one FAQ out there and people can see that 24/7. It's self-service. It's there's just so much that I could go on. And look, I won't bore you and your listeners,
No, no,
but
this is a business podcast. So, in fact, you never know. There are competitors who might be taking inspiration from you. So, you mentioned cost play. There is a brand play. Okay, so
yeah,
because it
brand
adds to
play
the
as well.
brand, there
Yeah,
is efficiency. Efficiency is cost is related, right?
yeah,
So get that. Excellent.
yeah.
Um, what's the so I mean, very very impressive. In fact, you are a rare breed. Whenever I talk to entrepreneurs like you who have not raised money and have built from scratch and have been self sustainable, That is a rare breed today. Um, could you let
Thank
us
you.
know what is the size of your business? I mean, without revealing numbers and stuff like that. And how big is the first of all, how big is this market opportunity, especially how much market have you captured and stuff like that?
Yeah, so we look, we're a small, medium-sized business. I've got about 30 people. I've got a dev team in Eastern Europe, in-house dev team. We spend a lot of time on dev and pushing things forward. We've captured a sizable part of the UK market, being market leaders in that. Um, but as far as the available marketplace, it's incredibly exciting where things are going and where we're needing to get to. But there is a big marketplace out there, and in reality, our marketplace is anybody sitting in four walls, and anybody who provides services, to that person who's sitting in four walls. So it's a huge market opportunity. Um, it is a market opportunity that will grow as people see that how important the customer service and providing that seamless home is going forward. And yeah, some really exciting plays around what's happening in the market and where things are going. Um, so yeah, we feel that we've got a great base now, and have got the ability to push that out.
And when you decide to grow, venture into new geographies, would you then need funding, or how would you fund yourself for growth?
We've managed to build up a fairly good cash position at the moment.
Got it.
So we've got the ability to start that journey off. I think as far as funding goes, we would look at strategic players, so the people that
Mm,
could move us into other geographies.
right.
So if there are people on your podcast out there that would do that, again, get in contact. But yeah, at the moment, it's more strategic partnerships that we'd be interested in.
On the podcast and on our platform, which we are revealing in 4 weeks, I will have a separate conversation with you where you could reveal your plans more accurately. Excellent. So that is good. Usually when you open to new geographies for a business like yours, how does that work? Do you look for partners, or do you actually build the entire team from scratch in a new country or a geography? How does expansion work in your business?
Yeah, I think actually, funnily enough, both of those models are possible. We see a lot of prop tech companies landing in the geography and building teams in the geography. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. The issue with property, I think, is that geographically it's quite a different market as you move from country to country or region to region. There are so many different aspects, whether that be legal or cultural or in the way that they provide housing to their population, which differs a huge amount. Fortunately, I guess the thing is that we've built an app that can move, is more, can move with the geography, so we can alter it accordingly. But what we find in housing and certainly in the UK market is that it's a hard business for new startups to get into, because it's old school. It's people that have those relationships, and we've able to establish that in the UK. We've had competitive forces hitting our clients, but because we've always given them a great customer experience, we can show them that we actually are moving rapidly and probably outdo technology and definitely content. Then we've been able to survive those ups and downs over all those years. But it is a hard play entering a new market, and personally, I'm quite open minded on how to approach each of those different markets. For instance, I was having a chat to a couple of my contacts in the Middle East yesterday, and it was I was telling them, yeah, we're getting really good traction on people asking for, hitting our marketing, asking for a demo, and then you go back to them and you go, yep, when would you like to schedule a demo? Or we're excited to, and then you don't hear anything else from them. So I was discussing this with a couple of contacts who are really good Middle East type experts, and they said, yeah, you've got to have somebody on the ground. You've got to have somebody that they can talk to and trust, and that's the way of doing business. So I think as far as expansion goes, you've got to be open to different models in depending on different regions, and just seeing how that works. But hey, I'm no expert. I'm starting that journey, so I got a lot of experience, but that's not my area of knowledge at the moment. But hey, maybe get me back in a year's time and I can give you a download of where we're at and what we're doing.
So as I was talking to Michael Beckerman from CRA Tech on my podcast, and we were talking about expansion of PropTech globally. All right. So while real estate is very local in nature, as you mentioned, right? It's very cultural, it's legal and stuff like that. Uh, but the nature of tech can be loose. Okay, it can expand to newer geographies much easily. But he mentioned that the only caveat is you need to have people on the grounds or the boots on the ground to ensure that you customize your solution to that local environment. So that was quite insightful of him, because he leads CRE Tech, so he works with global companies all through. Excellent. You also mentioned about competition there, and you have better relationship, and that's why you do not get a lot of customers leaving you. Um, but still, I would like to know, what are the kind of competition that you're looking at? Are they close to what you're offering in the world? Is there more disruption that you see from new players? Just give us a sense of the space, how it is shaping outside of your offering.
Yeah, sure. It's not an easy space to enter. We've talked about some of those barriers to entry prior to this. I think what we're seeing is we're seeing some new startups that are coming up with good ideas, but find it very hard to get traction because there are some really strong incumbent players and those players, it'll be interesting at what stage they might be disrupted. So, you've got full solutions, and look, I came from a ERP world, back in consulting as well, and you had SAP, if people remember what that is, and Oracle, and they're sort of the end-to-end solutions. So in that space, in the PropTech space, you've got people like Yardi and MRI and that give this sort of very big solution, and it'll be interesting to see how companies, say like mine and other players, sort of in the tenant app experience, and there are a few out there that are more established. How do we start to provide a really good tech solution as compared to um, startups that are able to provide a lot of quick technical competency or specific competency, and how they band together with middleware and APIs and provide and Zapier and things like that, and provide a more holistic solution that the Yardis and the MRIs currently provide. So there is a big range of potential solutions from incumbents that are very hard to shift, because they're sort of the backbone of organizations, to others that are moving very fast and providing really point solutions that are excellent bits of SaaS or other solutions.
Mm. So given what you are building, a super app, do you see you becoming platform where other point solutions would like to integrate with you? Maybe a use case that you do not have today, and somebody cracks that code, would you be do you have open APIs where there could be partners partnering with you, or you do not see that scenario here?
We tend to, at the moment, we tend to partner with market leaders in other areas. So we've got a market leader in defect management that we work with, for instance. So we tend to be very curated as far as making sure that we give and I guess it comes back to protecting the brand. So it is, for us, it's very curated sort of, who, how do we match up? In the future, who knows? I think there is a lot of exciting tech that's sort of moving forward. I'm particularly looking at, IoT, sensors, and lots of other areas that it'll be interesting to see, what comes out of that. But look, I'm undecided at the moment on, does that develop into a platform play? I don't know. Maybe some aspects, but for me, what we need to continue doing as an organization is giving a great customer experience to our current customers. Still there?
Got it. So my next question, David, you hear me?
Yep, I'm there. Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah. Sorry. Some camera issues I'm facing today. Doesn't happen often.
No troubles at all.
Yeah. So the thing is, since this is a business podcast, and we would definitely, our listeners, other entrepreneurs would want to learn from you on your growth and growth strategies, right? So you have been a traditionalist in a lot of ways. Like you have solid foundations. You believe in lean businesses. You do not believe in overspending on marketing and having this cash burn, which is very much symptomatic of many funded businesses, right? As I said, you are a rare breed that way. So what are the strategies that have worked for you for growth and scale? uh, maybe share some lessons over there.
Yeah, it is perhaps different from a lot of startups, and I'm not saying that we're particularly right. I'm just saying that there's a lot of entrepreneurs, I think, out there that um, either want to be that $100 million, pound, or billion, or whatever the case is, business. So they're quick in, okay, big play, big marketing, big spend, see if you can capture the market. And that's, that is part of startups nowadays, and particularly, the VC funded marketplace. We operate differently. For us, or for me, I guess personally, it's not about, I've got to have my super yacht, and I've got to, be the number one PropTech person that everybody wants to talk to or ask advice for. For me, it's about providing really good solutions to my customers and growing in a very risk adverse way. In and without the hype, it's just solid, I guess, is perhaps how I describe it. And just coming back to your question on growth strategies, look, it's simple in a way. Do good stuff for your customers. It's an incestuous business. They take you with them. They move. We've grown, to be honest. Our best marketing strategy has been people moving in the industry because they take us with them, from company to company. And if we if we help somebody on their career, and show, that they can do great things, then they want us to bring us as they move, into different companies. That doesn't mean that we don't market. That means that what we do is we make sure that we get good case studies, testimonials. We put good content out there. And then when somebody is interested, yeah, we'll be marketing and hitting them, and we've got a good marketing engine behind us to do that. But at the end of the day, it's not hype. It's, we tend to undersell what we do, rather than, I think, 95% of startups out there oversell. So it's pretty basic stuff, Ravi, in a way, and maybe not what the listeners want to hear, but I guess that's worked for us.
No, you said not many people would want to talk to you, but in the current times, you are hot. Okay, people people want to take lessons from you because none of the startup founders who have lived through the last decade know how to run a lean business. Okay, so definitely you are hot now. Um,
Ravi, you say all the right things.
so help us. Yeah. So what have been your biggest lessons, the highs and the lows in this journey? I think one of the lessons that I can take from this conversation is infinite amount of patience, right? Because eventually, if you do well in a long run, you are going to win than being impatient and expecting a lot of money to do the business for you, which is definitely not the case for you, right? So one of the lessons that I draw from your life is patience and sticking at it, being at it. What are some of the other lessons on the highs and the lows from your experience?
I don't know whether my staff would agree on the patient side, but yes, it's tenaciousness, isn't it? To a certain thing, which I think is the number one entrepreneurial quality. Other lessons, there's been a few. You talked about that longer term play. There's some very big highs and lows in the housing market and in housing. I mean, in the UK, we're going through one at the moment, where mortgage rates and inflation are up, and the housing industry is getting decimated as far as
Mm,
builders stopped, and or to a great extent, people are sort of not buying houses because they can't afford those moves. Um, so yeah, look, it is patience. It is having a solid business in highs and lows, because at you know in prop tech, you're going to be tested at some stage. We've gone, as you said, in sort of how people have gone to market in the last 10 years as startups. We've had low inflation, we've had good growth, and and people have sort of been very confident in investing and making those big claims and splashing the money around. But again, stroking my grey beard, having been around for a little while, yeah, shit's going to happen, and it's going to happen at some stage. So be ready for it. And you've got to have, and what does that mean? That means you've got to have solid business fundamentals. Do
mm,
you have product market fit? Do you have customers that are happy? Are you, dare I say it, are you trying to make a profit or going to make a profit at some stage, rather than just be a cash hungry business? Do you have the run rate, and are you going forward in the right way, to build, and to be not, if you're VC backed or if you're angel backed, that money runs out at some stage. um,
mm,
do you have a business plan where you start to make a profit? I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs that,
right,
yeah, they will make a profit, but
right,
there's no road to that profit. It's just a spreadsheet at the end of the day.
right.
um, I think, just dropping back into my consulting experience, and perhaps my number one lesson, that I've learned over my time in business, and it's been a while, is observing others, um, having a look at what people do well, adopting that into what you do, but also on the other side, what do people do badly, and what do you need to avoid, and what do you need to make sure that that you're adopting into And I'm not only talking my business practice as well, personal approach or your values. We haven't talked about values, but values is very centric in my organization.
No, let's talk about values a bit, because I'm very impressed with your grounded persona and character. So I would love to know a little deeper on your values.
Yeah, I tend to mix with some really good groups and organizations that are entrepreneurs at a high level that just have grounded values. And there's a community called Summit in the US that does a conference every year. Great organization. There's a group that I've sort of got involved with recently, ICE. In the UK, but it's just people with grounded values, people who are not, and I'm trying not to swear here, but who live the way that they say they live,
Mm.
are
Authentic,
trustworthy,
authentic.
authentic, yeah, authentic, trustworthy, integrity. And when you walk into my organization, and look, it wasn't me who originally put this in, but the original founder of the business. But it's part of the reason why I bought the business. We've got our set of values on a 2-story wall as people walk into the business.
Wow.
So, we've got great great staff loyalty, and I've had some really key people with me over 10 years, and that's been great to share that journey with people, and with like-minded people, and to have that loyalty back, and to give that loyalty. But we've got a saying in the business: family first. So if there's something happening on the family front, we all make sure that we muck in and cover that person. But I think that's a key way to start and run your business, is very values driven organization. And look, we've had people that are not like that have joined us. Unfortunately, they haven't lasted that long, but it's curating that. And we talked about customer curation and community building, and we take those values, and we are hoping to sort of live and breathe them and push them out into the tech world and the wider community as far as that longer term journey.
Excellent. Your words are like music to the ears. Like my heart warms whenever I hear about strong, grounded values. I'm gonna connect you to my mentor from the US, Rajesh Sethi. He's again a serial entrepreneur. You will love knowing him. I made a post on him just 2 months ago. It went super viral. You'll enjoy that conversation because
Cool.
I see a lot of value match there.
I look forward.
Excellent. So my last question here, and I see that I got so engrossed in this conversation, I'm already run out of time, 7 minutes. But last question here before we wrap it up. How does the next year or two look from here on for Spaciable?
There is incredibly a lot of opportunities, and look, there is a lot of people hurting out there, and a lot of entrepreneurs and others that are really facing a tough time at the moment. I still see some amazing sort of things on the horizon, as far as and it just we talked about building a solid business and having good runway. It's the highs and lows, and if you can live through that, the next things that are happening are incredibly exciting about. And we haven't talked about AI, but I really think that there's some amazing stuff, whether that's ChatGPT or anything else, that are coming out to give that really curated, seamless experience within the home. There is some great technology. If we get the security right around IoT and sensors and integrated systems, and from a tech point of view, incredibly excited to see what we can do. And at the end of the day, if we can build communities have happier society and a more rounded and well-rounded society. And we can do that through tech, or allowing tech to create some of that seamless journey that the people out there, instead of sitting in the admin and dealing with, and what some of the things that we're dealing with in the UK is mold problems and cladding and fire issues, and if we can get people out of that with tech, and allow them to do what they want to do, in building communities, in making people get jobs and have great families, and a great society, then what better is it than that in creating an amazing society and community? So, from a tech side, exciting. From a personal side, as far as that journey goes, there's lots of things going on in a tech world, and where we push society and where we go, in the next couple of years, incredibly exciting. It'll be interesting to see where we end up with AI at the end of the day, but you only asked a couple of years, so we'll just go with that and keep it on a positive note, I think, Ravi. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, this brings us end to a very, very thought-provoking, insightful, grounded conversation. It's very rare for me that a guest that I'm meeting for the first time grows in me within an hour-long conversation. So, David, you grew in me admirably. So, respectfully, thank you for being on my podcast and sharing a wealth of your knowledge and wisdom with us.
Thanks, Ravi. Really appreciate coming on the podcast, and really hope that that I've helped people out there. If there's anything that people want to contact me on or talk about more, I'm very happy to try and do that. But appreciate the time, Ravi.
Excellent, David. See you around. Bye-bye.